Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Um, so if you want to get the full message from that I put on here, the full version of this message, I should say, then you're going to have to go to buy me a coffee, and you're going to have to listen to this message within 36 hours of me posting it, which is about the same time that I am posting this message here on YouTube. 36 hours after that, this will only be available to my first class flyers on Jet Black Air. With that being said now, let me go ahead and give y'all the abbreviated version. I am now back in the kingdom. I had to conclude my trip in the States, and to my brother D in another city down the interstate from my hometown, let me just tell you that I did not forget, but something came up and it was out of my hands. Now, with the weather being what it was, we would not have been able to execute that plan anyway, but something came up. And mom's needed treatment. And it's a good thing she got it because this was preventive. So everything's okay. But we realized we needed to act quickly. And at the same time, I had to impart some knowledge to my son that was best done face to face, because he was ready for the next lesson that I had to give him. He has the character for it. And so it was time to go ahead and give him a particular tactic. Now, the lessons, there were 3 of them. But the first 2 lessons I can simply tell you are summed up in what sounds like a proverb, but it's not. I thought of this sentence about 2.5 weeks into the trip. Or maybe I should say 2.5 weeks ago. I thought of this sentence. I'm going to go ahead and tell it to you. Culture and conspiracy are close cousins. But our culture is just one colossal conspiracy. Now that sounds like a proverb. Maybe it is. Maybe it will become one. But that sums up 2 lessons that I had to learn out of the 3 that I have disclosed on Buy Me a Coffee. Of those 2, I'm going to tell you 1. I did not have to confront my mom. It was not necessary, in a nutshell, because my mom did not lie. But I had to tell my mom exactly how bad it was for her to understand why what's shaping out in the future is that Black America will dissipate and it will be absorbed into other groups. Portions of it will disappear as many men and an increasing number of Black women die childless. The portions that do reproduce will not reproduce with each other. Some will be reabsorbed back into the continent. Others will be absorbed in other continents. But what we will not be doing is we would not be reproducing with each other in large numbers. Now, it seems like we would but I don't think so. I had explained to my mother that while many black men and black women still prefer each other, the fact remains that um, black women, not black men, but black women are not showing enough of a preference for black men. So when they do have the preference, they still try not to show it. And that Western men in general are just not going to be interested in pursuing. This is not only in the West. I mean, China's got a similar problem. But when my mom relives the distress of me choosing my first ex wife, I had to explain to my mom that every other option was actually worse. And that not only was it worse, but that if she really wanted to know the truth, for the most part, all Western black women were in on it. The reason she did not know was because when she was growing up, of she was the youngest among her siblings, and the age difference between her and the next oldest was 9 years. And so while she did see her sisters and she saw their friends, the fact was that they would avoid certain discussions around her. They would avoid certain discussions around adults, and they avoided them around my mom because she was 9 years younger and they weren't trying to ruin her innocence. This was the type of environment in which she grew up. And so, therefore, she really was less privy to the games that women played. She knew certain games, but she didn't know a lot of them. She also had the impression, and somebody else corroborated this for me, so this was not her excuse. But she grew up with the impression that these bad women who played these extra games were not really going to be in close proximity to my brother and me in many cases. She did not know that these bad women that were going to play these games were the daughters of her friends and even the friends of my brother and me growing up in childhood. I explained to her that there had been this conspiracy going on in the name of culture, and that the conspiracy was designed to do exactly what the F she saw, the results of which she saw and didn't like. It was designed so that we black men did not have better options. It was designed so that we black men could either get with ladies that were, those of us black men that had anything going for ourselves could either get with the female versions of bums or no one at all, or women of other races. That the same goal that other cultures have of trying to match responsible men and responsible women together was the opposite of the goal of our culture, which was to make sure that responsible men and responsible women did not match up so that we could remain dysfunctional. I had explained to my mother that that's what the whole purpose was. That's what it had come down to. That in the end of it all, sadly, but in the end of it all, I had explained to my mother that we were dealing with a culture that told these, it wasn't guys trying to put a stop to this. We were dealing with a culture that told these women, if you were going to be trifling and low down, then you can go get one of them responsible guys right now. But you need to be ghetto and trifling. If you're not ghetto and trifling, then you need to leave these guys in the dust by becoming the type of woman that don't need no man. My mom said, well, what about the women that were professional and that were gorgeous, that had good heads on their shoulders, and they were nice looking? And I said, Mom, those were the kind of women that were told to go to school and become highly educated, not to help a man or a family, but so they would never need a man. They were told that they were already out of the market, that they were too good for the market, so they got done with school and they priced themselves out of the market in school and beyond. That's what they did. And men of other races didn't want them. That's what I had to explain to my mother. But what it was in a nutshell is that I had to say to her, and mostly what I had to explain to her, was that there was this conspiracy that was going on. And she was in a fortunate position to have been left out of it, but it left her unfortunately uh, unable to know most of the games, let alone to articulate them. But she did eventually learn what many of these games were. However, it also left her unaware of the proximity between these game players and guys like her sons. She did not know that her daughters were raising these girls. Her friends, I mean, not her daughter, her friends were raising these girls as daughters. And to be honest with you, her friends did not know that the daughters were turning out this way. They oftentimes would not realize how their daughters were until their daughters went to college and brought home no good ninjas that weren't in college. That's what it was. I'm not going to go much deeper than that right now. If you want to hear the rest, you're just going to have to go to buy me a coffee, and then you can learn the other two lessons. I hope that what I've said has been a benefit so far. I appreciate you all listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. Thank you for flying with me again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.